a fragile 13-year-old girl, a meddling mom, a story that caused a national uproar. Notorious woman number 14 is Lori Drew. September 2006. 8th grader Megan Myers started her first year at Immaculate Conception School in suburban St. Louis. According to court records, that fall Megan began exchanging messages with a boy named Josh she met on a popular networking website.
Josh, was a good-looking kid. He had just turned 16, had moved into the area, and Josh would comment on Megan's pictures and tell her she had beautiful eyes, what a great smile she had. And for Megan, this was the first time a boy that she thought was very good-looking told her she was beautiful.
The two forged an online relationship of sorts, but the budding romance soon wilted.
She was crying at this point, and I said, Meg, what's going on? And she said, Mom, they're being mean to me. They're being horrible to me.
According to court documents, the final straw came on October 16th, 2006.
The world would be a better place without you and have a rest of your life. These were the last messages that Megan read, and she ran up to her room.
Megan was a very fragile girl emotionally. She had been depressed. Her parents had taken her to the doctor. She had been on medication for depression, and she had thought about suicide and mentioned it a couple of times.
A police report stated within an hour of the final message, Megan Myers' parents found the teenager hanging by a belt in her bedroom closet, barely alive.
I ran upstairs to her room, and I opened her door, and I found her hanging in her closet. It was the biggest nightmare I've ever had in my entire life.
Megan was rushed to the hospital. She died the following day, 3 weeks shy of her 14th birthday.
When we went back to the computer to look, Megan's dad went through and was looking at all of the messages. He told me about them and asked if I had seen them. I said no.
According to court documents, Megan's parents were then contacted by someone alleging an even more disturbing fact.
They got a phone call from another mom in the neighborhood saying, I don't know how to tell you this, but my daughter just told me that cute 16-year-old boy, Josh Evans, wasn't cute, wasn't 16, and wasn't a boy. It was Lori Drew, a mom from the neighborhood.
Lori Drew ran a coupon book business from her home. According to court records, Drew and her employee Ashley Grills created Josh Evans and his fictional profile page.
Lori Drew had heard that Megan actually was saying mean things about her daughter, Sarah Drew. Lori Drew and Ashley Grills wanted to know exactly what Megan was saying about Sarah. So Ashley Grills created Josh Evans.
For me to find out that they, one, attended her wake and funeral, looked at us straight in the face, and they were behind this Josh Evans account the entire time was absolutely dumbfounding.
However, Lori Drew told FBI agents something quite different. According to court documents, Drew acknowledged knowing the account existed, but denied involvement in the scheme to create the account. After a year-long investigation, the St. Charles County prosecutor decided not to file charges.
I looked at it for our state laws that we had, like harassment, endangering, involuntary manslaughter. Looked at the different perspective of the criminal statutes that we had. It just didn't fit in the packet.
In May 2008, a federal prosecutor in Los Angeles took up the case.
The U.S. attorney out there decides that he's going to proceed with the case under the theory that MySpace is located in Los Angeles and they were using MySpace.
Lori Drew was indicted by a federal grand jury and charged with 1 count of conspiracy and 3 counts of accessing a computer without authorization. Drew pled not guilty. Ashley Grills was given immunity in return for her cooperation in the case. In a statement to police, Grills admitted she was the one who set up the Josh Evans page under the direction of Lori Drew.
Ashley Grills basically did the dirty work, but Lori Drew put a lot of thought in it. She was the leader.
On November 26th, after a 5-day trial, Lori Drew was convicted of 3 misdemeanor counts of accessing a computer without authorization. Drew filed an appeal. In July 2009, a federal judge threw out the conviction on the misdemeanor charges, ruling that the law was unconstitutionally vague. The judge's decision became final 2 months later. Drew's attorney hailed the decision. He told reporters, shame on the U.S. attorney for bringing this case. The St. Louis prosecutors had it right. The U.S. attorney may appeal the ruling. Lori Drew was never charged with contributing to the death of Megan Meyer. Meanwhile, Megan wasn't forgotten.
In May of 2008, we introduced the Megan Meyer Cyberbullying Prevention Act, which is aimed at stopping these kinds of repeated intimidation, harassment, or threats via any kind of electronic means. If we are able to get it signed into law, it will apply to all the 50 states.
Tina Meyer tours the country sharing Megan's story with school kids. She also lobbies legislators to pass laws against cyberbullying.
My hope is to keep touching kids one by one, parents one by one, and educators one by one, so that we can all come together and trying to make sure that another family does not go through this.
When we return, you'll never guess what secret this doctor's wife was hiding.